So, in an absolutely hilarious turn of events, it looks like I'm about to be wrong again about this team. Dallas fans, I am so sorry. We do still have a long way to go. The Nuggets were able to push the Timberwolves to a 7-game series, which they should have won after losing both of their home games to start the series. But this is definitely not a situation that any team would like to find themselves in. Losing both of your home games basically in the last quarter, or in the last 2 minutes. Well, for Minnesota, it was different for game 2 because of the lead that they actually blew. They were up by 18 in the second quarter, and then they were up by 16 when they led 68-52 with about 9 minutes left in the third quarter. They couldn't hold on to the lead. It was like watching the 2022 Timberwolves team all over again. And so what exactly went wrong? I mean, based on the title, bro, Luka Doncic, especially in the second half, just became the most unguardable player on the floor. And Kyrie Irving as well. He had a really slow start to the game again. It was looking like it was going to be another low scoring game for him, but as he's shown throughout the playoffs, he usually starts out slow, and if he does get it going, it's usually in the second half, and that's exactly what happened here again. 2 for 8 from the field in the first half, 5 points, and 15 points in the second half on 5 for 8 shooting, 4 of those being threes, and 4 assists, which, by the way, Kyrie and Luka Doncic combined for 12 of the Mavericks' 13 assists in the second half, and most of them were on lobs. And it's actually really interesting the types of actions that they've been running. They've been running a lot of the double screens out top. Usually well, to be fair, both teams were actually running the same sort of action, just getting their looks in different ways. The Mavericks were mainly using theirs to try to get bigs going downhill, creating mismatches on the roll, things like that. The Timberwolves were mainly using Spain pick and roll by the looks of it off of those actions, and also running screenaways for the first screener in the action, which usually was Naz Reid, and he got a lot of good looks, especially in the second half, off of these types of plays. And so that was mainly the offense. It seemed like it was just a battle of who was able to run this play better. Now, I didn't expect the Minnesota defense to have this much trouble in defending Luka Doncic, because also we have to remember this is the best that he's looked all playoffs up until this point. He looked a step slow in the first couple rounds, less so in the second as he was kind of getting back into form after the injury. But now this looks like the Luka that we're used to seeing and the one we've been seeing all season and years past. Jaden McDaniels is having a lot of trouble defending Luka, especially in pick and rolls. It seems like he's getting stuck behind him in jail a lot, and he's never really able to recover and get back in front of him. So they're put in a situation where they have to collapse the defense. That usually means that Rudy Gobert or Cat or Naz Reid are having to rotate over for the Luka drive or the Luka midi or whatever the hell he's about to do. And it usually leads to a lob or an open shooter. We saw Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford just getting lob after lob off of these types of plays. But also Luka's decision making in general, every single read. It was one of the best playoff games that I've ever seen Luka play, even though he didn't really shoot too well from the field. He was 10 for 23, 5 for 11 from 3. The 13 assists that he had were all just perfect, for lack of a better word. It seemed like he knew exactly, like he just picked apart the Timberwolves defense the entire game whenever he was in pick and roll, or even some possessions where he was in ISOs on Jaden McDaniels in the post. And so he's, heavier than Jaden. Rudy Gobert, or the big that is dropping, is going to have to help on that. He had 2 plays specifically in the second half. They were the exact same action and basically the exact same result, where they ran the double screens with Derek Jones Jr. and Daniel Gafford. Daniel Gafford was the second screener, and he was the one that would end up rolling to the rim, and Derek Jones Jr. would flare out. And Mike Conley is sort of in a difficult spot here. This is really on Cat to just drop into the paint and stop the Daniel Gafford roll. Luka has a genius head fake when he jumps to throw this pass. He looks to the corner, which freezes Cat for just a split second to allow Daniel Gafford to get better positioning, and also in turn puts Cat in a difficult spot, because it's a situation where if Cat is able to just stop the Daniel Gafford roll, Mike Conley is going to be able to close out to the corner shooter. Jaden McDaniels is probably going to be able to close out to Derek Jones Jr. Then they would just have to create something out of that. They ran the exact same play literally 2 minutes later. This time it's Josh Green and Derek Lively with Derek Jones Jones Jr. in the corner. And once again, it's literally the exact same thing. Mike Conley rotates with Derek Lively in preparation for recovering back to the shooter, but it doesn't matter because Luka again fakes into the corner, freezes Cat again, and this time Derek Lively has even better positioning than Daniel Gafford had on the previous play. Like, every assist that he had this game was a perfect read and a reminder of what this dude actually does. I'm not entirely sure what the Minnesota Timberwolves response or what their adjustment is going to be for this specific action or for the Luka Doncic matchup in general. Jaden McDaniels is too small, and he's also just been getting put in jail on almost every single Luka Doncic drive, and so he's not been doing a great job defending Luka, which again is just a testament to how great Luka actually is, considering what we've seen Jaden McDaniels do this entire season. You can't really put Ant on him, which we will get to him next. Ant is 3 inches shorter and about 10 pounds lighter than him, and so he's giving up a lot of size in that matchup. We usually seen in the first 2 rounds, Ant was guarding guys like Bradley Beal, Devin Booker. In the second round, he was mainly guarding Jamal Murray. A lot of guards that he has a size advantage against in some way, shape, or form. This matchup does not favor him at all, and neither does the Kyrie matchup, because as we've seen throughout the first 2 games, this dude is absolutely exhausted guarding Kyrie the entire game. There was a point in game 1 where he literally, he looked like he was about to die towards the end of the game. He had no explosiveness. He was just gasping for air. And then there was a point in the 4th quarter tonight that we actually didn't really know until the game was almost over. During his rest at the start of the 4th quarter, he actually was wearing an oxygen mask and was getting oxygen. And so if that doesn't show you the level of exhaustion that he is actually at having to guard Kyrie, like, there's really no favorable matchup for him other than just being in help position, I feel like, because Luka and Kyrie are going to be your main ball handlers in the series. Obviously, I'd imagine that they would rather stick with the Jaden McDaniels matchup, even though he is kind of getting cooked. Like, it's just they don't really have that many better options right now, which is something that I did not think I would be saying literally 5 days ago. Another factor in this game that I felt was pretty crucial, obviously the field goal percentage from Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards combined. In game 1, it was mainly Mike Conley that was the problematic piece. I've already had a couple moments throughout this playoffs where I've said word for word, Mike Conley looks like he's the one that's 22 instead of Anthony Edwards. That was true again in game 1, just bad shot selection, bad passes. He really cleaned pretty much all of that up in game 2. He was getting to his spots a lot more off the pick and roll, especially going to that right-handed floater going downhill or off the pick and pop. As we know, Mike Conley is one of the best shooters in the league when it comes to shooting off of that pick and roll. He had a pretty solid game. Anthony Edwards, it did seem like he had more of an emphasis on actually getting downhill in this game as opposed to how his shot diet looked in game 1. Although in doing so, he did miss a lot of shots at the rim, just going directly at Dallas's bigs. Now, there were some questionable plays where he probably should have gotten free throws, but the point still stands that he should be able to finish through at least some of this contact. But overall, not a great game for Ant. He had some crucial turnovers down the stretch, especially one with about 10 seconds left that actually led to the Luka Doncic game winner. He is 22 years old. That's not really an excuse, but that's just providing context to some of the plays and some of the decision making that he's been having trouble with really throughout the entire playoffs when he's put in a facilitator role. But as I said, he's 22, so that will improve over time, but as of right now, doesn't look good. Karl Anthony Towns he definitely had a basketball game. He missed his first 4 shots, all of which were pretty makeable, so it's not really an indictment on him, although there were a couple plays where he was taking like off-balance fadeaways where you probably would have liked to see something else come out of that, but he did have some open shots off of driving kick opportunities, collapsing the defense. But overall, 4 for 16 from the field. Cat and Anthony Edwards combined to shoot 9 for 33. Jaden McDaniels, if you want to throw him in there too, he was 1 for 6. But as I mentioned earlier, Naz Reid was absolutely eating off of that double screen action that they just kept going to, especially in the 3rd quarter. 7 threes in game 2. 23 points, was actually the leading scorer for the Timberwolves, but just not enough. And that's basically just the game. As I said, even though the series is 2-0, these games have basically been lost on 2 or 3 critical possessions in each game. Game 1, the Mavericks won by 3 points, and it was off of some key missteps for the Timberwolves in the final 3 minutes or so of the game. And game 2, same thing. And so if Minnesota is actually able to clean up their execution, especially down the stretch of the game, I think that could be one of the key factors in turning the series around. But as of right now, this does not look good, especially considering the fact that you are now going to Dallas down 0-2, lost both of your home games, and now you have to try to go in and win both of theirs. Not impossible, but not likely. Dallas fans, once again, I apologize for severely underestimating the capabilities of this team. As I said, we will see what happens, but this is looking pretty bad so far. But that's about it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new, hit the bell to be notified when I upload, comment down below what you want to see next, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.